I still remember the smell of that morning. Wet earth, cold mist, and something else. Something that I can only describe as expectation. I had been walking for 3 hours before the sun even touched the treetops. My boots were soaked. My rifle was heavy on my shoulder, but my heart was light, because today was the day. Today was my day. I had been hunting since I was 12 years old. My father put a rifle in my hands and told me, "Son, the jungle doesn't give anything for free. You earn what you take." And for 20 years, I believed him. Every hunt, every trophy, every kill. I believed I was just doing what men in my bloodline had always done. But that morning in the deep jungle of the Karakoram foothills, something was different. I just didn't know it yet. I had been tracking this animal for 2 days. 2 full days. I had followed his prints in the mud. I had read the broken branches he left behind. I had studied his rhythm, when he fed, when he rested, when he moved. I knew this creature better than some people I've called friends. And then, at around 6:14 in the morning, I saw him. Let it breathe. He stepped out of the tree line, like something out of a dream. A large stag, antlers wide and proud, like a crown he had earned in battle. His coat was the color of autumn leaves, brown and gold, catching the first light of morning. He stood at the edge of a clearing, still, breathing slowly, like he owned every inch of that jungle. And maybe he did. I raised my rifle, slow, steady, the way my father taught me. I controlled my breathing. In, out. I found the crosshairs. I lined them up right behind his front shoulder. The perfect shot, the clean shot, the ethical shot. Or so I had always told myself. My finger found the trigger. I had been in this moment 100 times before. I knew how it ended. But then, he turned his head, and he looked directly at me. Now, I know what you're thinking. Animals do that all the time. They sense movement. It's instinct. And you're right. I know that. I've been in the jungle long enough to know the difference between an animal that senses danger and an animal that sees you. This one saw me. Not the hunter, not the threat, not the shape behind the rifle. He saw me, and I cannot explain it to you any better than that. Because in that moment, in that cold, quiet, foggy morning, something cracked open inside my chest. I could see his ribs moving, rising and falling, rising and falling. I could see his nostrils flare. I could see the warmth of his breath in the cold morning air, small clouds of life disappearing into nothing. And I thought, the moment I pull this trigger, that stops. That breath, that warmth, that quiet, powerful existence, gone. Because of me, because of a trophy, because of a photograph I would hang on a wall. My hands started to shake, not from a cold, not from fear, from something I hadn't felt in 20 years of hunting. Doubt. I kept the crosshairs on him. 30 seconds, a minute, maybe longer. I don't know. Time felt different in that clearing. The stag didn't run. He didn't move. He just stood there, looking at me, like he was waiting to see what kind of man I was. And that question, that silent animal question, hit me harder than any philosophy book, any sermon, any conversation I had ever had about right and wrong. What kind of man are you? I lowered my rifle, slowly, quietly, not because I was weak, not because I had missed my chance, but because for the first time in my life, I chose not to take it. I sat down on the wet ground, right there, rifle across my knees, and I watched him. For another 10 minutes, I just watched him exist. He grazed, He lifted his head. He walked slowly back toward the tree line. And just before he disappeared into the shadows of the jungle, he paused. One last look, then he was gone. In that clearing for a long time after he left, I didn't feel like a hunter anymore. I didn't feel like anything I had a word for. I thought about my father, about what he would say, about the trophies on his wall, about the stories he told at the dinner table. And I realized something. My father taught me how to hunt, but he never taught me why. And I had spent 20 years chasing trophies without ever asking myself why. That morning in the jungle didn't make me hate hunting. It didn't turn me into someone I wasn't. What it did was show me the difference between taking and choosing. Every animal I had harvested before that day, I had taken, automatically, mechanically, because that's what you do. That's what hunters do. But that stag, I chose. I chose to let him walk. And that choice, that single decision made in the fog of an early morning, changed the entire foundation of who I believed I was. Thoughtful, grounded. I have friends who say mercy is weakness, that the jungle doesn't understand mercy, that nature is brutal, and so should hunters be. Maybe they're right. Maybe in some laws of the wild, I failed that morning. But here's what I know. I have killed many animals in my life, and I remember some of them. But I remember him every single day, the one I let live, the one who looked at me, the one who waited to see what kind of man I was. My name is William Shawn. I've hunted all my life. But that morning taught me that the most powerful thing a hunter can hold isn't a rifle, it's restraint. If this story moved you, share it. Someone out there needs to hear it. Subscribe. Comment your thoughts below.